Hi, this is SJ Talks and Life coming back at you. I don't know if you guys can see me out here. 'Cause, I'm sitting outside and the sun is shining. So I'm hoping that you guys can see me. Because right now it's looking at the camera, it looks like it was kind of dark. But you guys might be able to see me. Anywho, it's this guy on Facebook. He's on YouTube and Facebook actually, by the name of Yada Awakening. Yada Awakening. He has a Facebook page, and he just started popping up on my Facebook feed. And I put a couple of his phrases on my community tab. But he's been coming in doing little videos. He's mostly on Facebook more so than YouTube. He does have a YouTube channel, but he's mostly on Facebook. And he comes on Facebook doing these little videos and put his little quotes on there telling men, I think he's Muslim, telling men what is required of them and what they should be doing as far as how they should treat their women. And everything he says is 100% on point. Basically telling men about, you shouldn't be requiring 50-50, and you take care of. I agree with now some women, they would call them feminists. I wouldn't necessarily call them feminists. I would call them modern independent women, because times have changed. Would probably disagree with him because some women, they want to work and they want to, have their own money and things like that. And so some women would probably disagree with him, but boy, he is stepping on some toes as far as the men is concerned. He's stepping on some toes. He's stepping on some toes. He is really stepping on some toes, and but everything he says is 100% truth. He is telling the total, complete truth, and everything that he says is 100% true. And when it comes to truth, men don't like dealing with truth because it's like a mirror. It's like holding a mirror up to them and letting them know that if you have this mentality or that mentality and you think this way and that way, you're not being a man. So it's like he's holding a mirror up to these men out here that has these different mindsets. 50-50, going 50-50, requiring a woman to pay half the bills. Just a lot of the mentality that a lot of these men have. And he's basically, like I said, he's holding a mirror up to him, and he's letting them know that, and a lot of what he's saying is based on Bible principles. A lot of what he's saying is based on Bible principles. Because, and I got to meditating and thinking about a lot of the things that he was saying. Men are always talking about how women need to, like if a man wants to be with a woman, he wants her to move in her feminine energy. Actually, I was going to make this a separate video, but I'll throw it into this one. When a man is with a woman, they want a woman. They're always complaining about how, particularly black women, how we're masculine, and Yada was saying something to the effect that how can you allow a woman to be in her total, operate in total femininity when she's helping you pay half the bills, when she has to work just as hard as you do. And a lot of these women nowadays, including myself, have had to work and to hold down, to pay bills. Some of us had to take care of children. Some of us were, like myself, were head of households and had to take on not just a woman's role, but take on the man's role as well. Well, women are doing something that is not natural. That's why it's very, very hard for women to be feminine doing that, because to really operate in their total femininity, being like that, because it's not natural. It's not natural for a woman to be the head. It's not natural for a woman to be doing everything and holding everything down. And I remember when I was a single mother, I remember, and that was when I didn't totally understand. I completely understand all that now, but I didn't 100% completely understand it back then. All I knew is that me taking care of my kids and paying all the bills and working in that. I always used to say that I just feel like a female. I don't feel like a woman. I used to say that all the time. I don't feel like a woman. I just feel like a female. I don't feel like a woman. And so basically, I was in essence saying that I wasn't able to totally operate in my feminine energy because I was doing everything. I was paying all the bills. I was working, taking care of the children, trying to fulfill a mother and a father's role. Now, we know realistically women can't do both. You can only be a mother. You can't be a father, particularly to young black males. A woman can't raise a boy up to be a man, So I remember thinking that all the time, just because anytime a woman is holding down a fort and doing everything, it's just she's doing something she's going against you. You're going against the grain, and you're doing something that's not natural. And so a lot of these men are always talking about how black women are so masculine and everything, but a lot of times when y'all make these babies and y'all walk away and y'all put women in a position to where they have to do everything, what do you expect? And if you're requiring a woman to go out and work just as hard as you, because she has to work full time, I've said it in other videos, she would literally have to work 40 hours a week to pay half the bills. She can't pay half the bills on a part-time salary. So you expected a woman to work just as hard as you and pay half the bills, but how can you expect for her to operate in her full feminine energy? And these are some of the things that y'all to be talking about. And you can't expect her to operate in her full feminine energy if she's helping you pay half the bills. But see, these men want it. They want it all. They want their cake and eat it too. And this is the reason why a lot of women are opting out of marriage and having children, even having children now, is because men want too much. They're asking too much of women. They're asking the women to come in and pay half of the bills. Then a woman got to work 40 hours a week. And then she got to come home and take care of the children, clean the house, and do everything else. And I did another video a while back saying that, okay, if you insist on 50-50, so be it, if a woman agrees with that. However, everything needs to be 50-50. Everything needs to be 50-50. The caring of the children, the keeping the house clean, the meals, everything needs to be 50-50. But realistically, we all know in most cases, everything is not 50-50. In most cases, the woman is doing most of the labor. She's not only working full time and paying half the bills, she is doing mostly, come on, let's be realistic. In most cases, the woman is doing mostly everything. And this is the reason why, and that's what these men expect. But then they expect you to operate in your total femininity. And they want you to totally submit. How can you totally submit and operate in your full femininity if you're sitting up there working just as hard as he working, and you paying half the bills, and then you coming home and doing everything else? You can't do that. But these men want their cake and eat it too. That's what they want you to do. See? and they're asking too much of women. This is what Yada be saying, is that they're asking too much of women. And this is the reason why more women are embracing the 4B movement of all ages. It's not just older women. And more women are operating. Did you know that 40% of black women did not have children? Did you know that? 40% of black women do not have children. But all people can focus on is the single mothers in the black community. That's all that people focus on. People put so much emphasis and focus on the single mothers in the black community that they totally forget that fact. There is 40% of black women that do not have children. More and more black women are opting out of motherhood. I have black women in my family that don't have children, literally. Okay, so it's more common than not. It really is more common than not for black women to not have children. But so much emphasis is being placed on black single mothers that people forget that. They completely forget that little 40% stat that says that there's that 40% of black women that don't have kids. That's actually a pretty high percentage. And so more and more women of all races are opting out of motherhood because and even getting married, because men are expecting too much. These men are expecting too much. And basically Yada was basically saying, if you asking for 50-50 and you're not totally you're not prepared to be able to totally provide for your woman, whether she working or not. If you're not prepared for that, then you're not ready to be married. You're not ready to have no wife. And boy, men don't want to hear that. They get mad. Ooh, they come in that comment section. Because the first thing people want to do is hurl insults at you when, they disagree with you. And boy, I had some fun the other day going back and forth with these guys on Facebook. I had so much fun the other day. And they sometimes I like a good debate. I had so much fun going back and forth with these guys. And other women were chiming in too. And we were having so much fun going back and forth. And then, they threw out that little simp term. They threw out that little simp word. That's their go-to. They always throw that out there. They're going to go there. They're going to throw that out there. Yeah, he's a simp. But any man that lets that word come out of his mouth, he's not a good one. A woman needs to run from a man that has that mindset. Any man that has the mindset that is something wrong with treating a woman with love and respect, a woman needs to not just walk from a man like that, but she needs to run from him. Any man that has that mindset. Any man. And that's what I told a couple of them in there. Ooh, they just, they is coming for him, but because he's speaking the truth. He's speaking the truth and they don't want to hear it. He's speaking the truth and they don't want to hear everything that this man says. And a lot of what he says is based on Bible principles. A lot of what he's saying is you can't expect a woman to totally operate in her feminine energy if you expect her to pay half the bills. It's going to be cause and effect. Okay, you might get a woman that's willing to come in and pay half the bills. Okay, but don't expect her to totally submit. Don't expect her to completely be operating in her feminine energy. Don't expect all that. You go 50-50 with a roommate. You go 50-50 with a roommate. And there was another thing. I was going to make this a separate video, but I'm going to throw this in with this one. If you are a woman, and you want to have a family, you want to have a husband and family, once again, disclaimer, it is nothing wrong with that. It is nothing wrong with a woman wanting a husband and family. That is a natural thing for a woman to want that. If you want a husband and family, wonderful. But keep this in mind. If you run up on a man that's requiring, and he's telling you that he needs you to pay 50% of the bills. This is the one thing that as a woman you need to keep in mind if you planning on having a family. What if you had that baby and you don't want to take 6 weeks, just 6 weeks? What if you want to take longer than 6 weeks to get the opportunity to bond with your baby? To get the opportunity to bond with your baby. 6 weeks to me is not enough time, particularly your first child. 6 weeks is just not enough time. What if you want to stay home for at least 6 months? Because you're nursing, maybe you might want to nurse the baby. You might want to stay home and nurse the child. You may not be ready to go back to work right away. If that man requires you to pay half of those bills, and he cannot afford to carry you on his own, that might be something that you need to keep in mind before you say I do to this guy if you want to have a family. Because what if you want to take longer than 6 weeks off of work? What if during the course of your pregnancy you have some type of complication and you have to take off early? Then you can't work the whole 9 months. Because I'm telling you, I worked during both of my pregnancies, and I had to take off in my 7th month when I was pregnant with my oldest, because believe it or not, my back issues started way back then, but it was during the time I was pregnant. Working is really hard on a woman. Working is really, really hard on a woman that's pregnant. Unless you got a sit-down desk job where you can sit down, unless your job is one of them sit-down jobs where you can sit down behind a desk, if you don't have that type of job, it's going to be hard for you to work 9 months. If this man is requiring you to pay half the bills, you got to work throughout your whole pregnancy. If you have a strenuous job that requires you to stand for long periods of time and everything, what if you have complications and the doctor tells you got to be on bed rest? That man needs to be prepared to cover you and to cover all those bills while you're on your bed rest. And then you have the baby and you decide, hey, I'm not wanting to go back to work right away. I want to stay home with my baby a little longer. A woman should be able to have that option. When a woman has children within the context of a marriage, she should be able to have some options. Okay, that man's supposed to be able to carry her. If she decides that she wants to stay home with that baby for a while, okay, that man should be able to hold that. He should be able to hold that down. He should be able to hold that down until you're ready to go back to work. And if he's requiring you to pay 50-50 and he's not willing or able to do that, that might be something you want to think about before you say I do to this man. And see, those are the types of things that Louis Farrakhan spoke on that before too. You know, you want a woman to pay half the bills and she's pregnant, but you want to put her out there and make her work. See, that's something to keep in mind. And that's what these men are talking about, particularly if you want to have a family. You want a man that's going to be able to hold that down just in case you're pregnant and you start having complications and you got to take off early. Or you want to stay home with the baby longer than 6 weeks, because 6 weeks, in my opinion, is not long enough. I still feel some type of way going back to work 6 weeks after I had my youngest son. It just wasn't enough time. It was when they get grown, you be thinking about stuff like that. It just wasn't enough time. It just wasn't enough time. And I had to quit nursing and everything. It just wasn't enough time. But I was a single mother. Father wasn't there. I didn't have a choice because I had another child to think about. I had too many responsibilities. So I didn't have a choice but to go back to work. But if you were a married woman, you should have that option. of being able to stay home with your baby longer than 6 weeks. And your husband should be able to hold it down. And if he's not willing and able to do that, and y'all talking about having some kids, I don't own the rights to that song. But you feel me? And so traffic is loud out here. It's something to think about. So he comes on Facebook with all these truths and telling these men, this is how you need to move as a man. How can you call yourself a man if this is how you're moving and that's how you're moving? You know what I mean? Men don't want to hear it. It's like holding up a mirror to them in their mindsets. They don't want to hear it. Now on the flip side of that, there's a flip side of that. Allegedly, and now some men that's been coming in the comment sections saying this. I was looking at a YouTuber by the name of Sam Faye, and she was saying something like that too. Allegedly, this man got caught up in a domestic dispute with his wife. First of all, I think he has 2 wives. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that polygamy stuff. So I don't agree with that. But he has 2 wives. But hey, if he has 2 wives, as long as he can provide for them. But I don't agree with it. I don't go along with it. I don't agree with it. But they said allegedly he was caught up in a domestic dispute with one of his wives. But you can't find anything on it. Guys are coming in the comment section talking about that. And you know what I say to that? I don't agree with polygamy. I've stated that on here before. And I thought about it. I said, well, could he be controlling? Because he said, I totally provide for my wives and everything. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, could he be controlling? Because sometimes men, if they're paying all the bills and holding down the fort and doing everything, sometimes they can be controlling. I don't know. I don't know him personally. But they said allegedly he was caught up in a domestic dispute. But you can't find any proof of it anywhere. That's why I say allegedly. I don't know for sure. However, everything he's coming on Facebook is saying is, I've been agreeing with everything that he's been saying. Everything that he's been coming on Facebook saying has been totally on point. So I'm not going to focus on the messenger, because I'm subscribed to a lot of YouTubers that I don't totally believe in everything that I don't totally believe in everything that they believe or do, but I like a lot of the things that they say is true, you know. So I don't have to totally agree with you or totally go along with your lifestyle to agree with what you're saying. So, you know what I say? Like I say, I'm going to focus on the message. I focus on the message and not the messenger. I'm not going to focus on the messenger. I focus on the message. Instead of focusing on the messenger, I focus on the message. Because everything the brother be saying be 100% on point. And I'm telling you, man, it just cracked me up how they be coming in the conversations. They get mad. They get mad. I said, if it don't apply, let it fly. If it don't apply to you, let it fly. So it's like they be telling on themselves. It's like these men be coming in the conversation, getting all mad and stuff. They be telling on themselves. They be like, so you're literally telling us that you're a deadbeat, basically. Because you're disagreeing with what he's saying. But hit me up in that comment section. And another thing that he said, he talked about homosexuals. A woman shouldn't be carrying no man, which is 100% true. All that, a woman shouldn't be. It's not a woman's job to pick you up. A man shouldn't be looking. I've said that on here time and time again. A man shouldn't be looking for no woman. If you do not have it together, you should not be looking for no wife, no girlfriend, or no wife. Want to help? You need to help lift the brother up. No, he was basically saying it is not. He is absolutely right. It is not a woman's job to lift you up. It is not a woman's job to help you get to a certain place. You're supposed to be already. You're supposed to already have it together before you take on a wife. You're supposed to already have it together. In some cultures, in some African cultures, a man has to be able to prove to the woman's family that he can provide for her. He has to pay a dowry, as they call a dowry, and he has to be able to prove to that family that he can provide for their loved one. And if he can't prove that, then no, you can't have her. The father's gonna be like, you can't have her. Then you can't have her. You can't pay the dowry, and you cannot prove to us that you can provide for her. Then no, you cannot have her. They don't do like America and just be giving a woman away to just anybody. The man has to be able to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that he can provide for her and any children that they have. And if he can't prove that, and he can't pay her dowry, then he can't do. They're like, no, you can't have her. Some African cultures, yes. So, yeah. So, like, everything he be saying be 100% on point. And men don't want to hear it, and that's why they get mad. But hit me up in that comment section if you heard of Yada. His name is Yada Awakening. He has a YouTube channel, but he's mainly on Facebook. Let me know if he's popped up in your Facebook feed. I shared a couple of his sayings on my community tab just to see if I get a response from men. But hit me up in that comment section, ladies. Be respectful in my comment sections, because I will be deleting comments. Be respectful in my comment section. But let me know, ladies, what you think about if this guy Yada Awakening has popped up on your Facebook feed. Let me know. Let me know. What are your thoughts on it? What do you think? Men, yeah, you can sound off, but be respectful. Okay, hit that like button. Make sure you hit that like button. That pushes my algorithm up. And that share button. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Be blessed.